Pre-baby.
Pre-baby.
I want to know all about starting your business,
Yes.
how it started, what you were doing before, all of that good stuff.
Okay, so I started out of university as a fashion publicist.
Okay.
So I interned throughout uni doing fashion PR and then got a job quite soon afterwards. So I was doing that for about 6 years in agencies all over London. So I did a whole host of fashion clients. What can you see? And including, I did lots of really commercial brands like Lipsy London and UGG Australia and Triumph lingerie, and then also did some quite high-end brands. So I did jewellery for Tiffany & Co.
Amazing.
And I think what I learned really quickly is how, you're going to play the candle? What I learned really quickly was that you kind of, a lot of the brands I worked for were incredible brands, but actually you didn't need to have an amazing brand to make it work. You just needed to market it in the right way. And I think that was something that stuck with me for years.
Yeah.
We launched quite a few international brands to market in the UK, and some of them weren't particularly wonderful, but we marketed them correctly and they did really well. So I think that was something that always stuck in the back of my mind. And it sounds like a massive cliche, but I was actually going on my honeymoon, or planning on going on my honeymoon, and trying to find some really nice resort wear to wear, really nice beach dresses, something that wasn't necessarily the high street, you know, we all love Topshop and Zara and everything like that, but at the same time I didn't want to be on my honeymoon having 3 other people on the beach wearing the same thing. Hello. But at the same time I wanted something nice enough that felt a bit special that wasn't designer, because the only other thing available at that time 4 years ago was your Melissa Oderbash's and your Mara Hoffman's, which is £300-400 for a dress, which wasn't really what I wanted to do. So the idea for Pampelone was born, really. And then I also, the more I thought about it, the more perfect it became, really. I grew up in the south of France and on Pampelone Beach, hence the inspiration for Pampelone came about.
Amazing. And so it's 3 years.
3 years, I keep getting, so it's 3 years ago. I launched it into the summer 2015.
Okay.
June 2015, we first switched the website on. So 3 years. 3 years, literally this month,
And Sienna's not yet 1.
Sienna is 9 months old. So Sienna is my second baby after Pampelone.
Yeah, exactly. And having a second baby with a business, is it a whole different ballgame now?
It is a complete different ballgame working with Sienna. I think before I had Sienna, Pampelone completely consumed my life, and I loved it like that. I absolutely loved it. I worked every evening, every morning, every weekend.
Well, you have to with a new business, don't you? You kind of give it...
Absolutely, but I loved it, and I think when you really enjoy what you do and when you really have a business that you believe in, it does become your life.
Working with a baby, the difference of having a business.
So I think I'm quite lucky. I've got lots of friends and family who are working mothers, and I got so much advice from them pre Sienna, so when I was pregnant. And I think, naively or ignorantly, I think you always think that you can do it, or your situation is different or something like that. So I still worked quite hard when I was pregnant, but obviously was loving what I was doing, so it didn't really affect me too much. And then I had Sienna and it all changed.
Did you take any mat leave, or did you?
So, no, not really. So I think my plan was for a month, not even to answer one email. My plan, I said for a month, nothing, and then I'll just really ease in very gently. But then Sienna was 2 weeks late.
Okay.
And then we had a sample sale. Then after 2 weeks, so it was going to be a month after. And I knew that I didn't really have to do any work for it, but I ended up going, and it's your business, and you go, and then you end up staying.
Because you care.
Popping in to say hi, to staying there all day, helping customers. So I've got the funniest pictures of Sienna at 2 weeks old, just asleep with her maxi cozy on the till point. And then, my plan was very much to ease in gently, but I think, as always, when it's your business, it ended up getting quite intense very quickly, and I ended up doing quite a lot. So I feel like I did quite a lot quite quickly, and then ended up having to really backtrack and actually draw the line somewhere and start taking more time off.
Because you need to.
Oh my goodness, for sure.
For your sanity,
absolutely,
for everything. So you don't have childcare, as in you don't have a nanny or a childminder?
No, I have no one in an official capacity to look after Sienna. I don't have anything against it at all. I think it's great. It works for some people, but for me personally, I want her with me at all times. Also, she's so young still, And I think, I'm happy working while she's in my vicinity. I have great girls that work with me.
I was going to say,
incredible support from that sense. And then I kind of dip my toe in and out when I need to. And one thing that I did that I do think I'm really happy that I did was we got rid of our office. So my lovely girls come here 2 full days a week.
Amazing.
So
And you all work together?
We work together at my dining room table.
Yeah,
It's
nice.
very unprofessional. But it means that my mum can look after Sienna literally in her play area next to me. So I'm still very present. I can feed her. I can be there if she needs me. But just means I can get some solid work done. And then for the rest of the week, we're either in meetings and she comes with me, or my lovely girls work from like Soho House or wherever, and then I can have a few days off.
Well, that's the great thing now about like agile working and social media and all that stuff. It means that work's changed. You don't need to sit in an office 9 to 5. You can be at your kitchen table and you make it work around your life.
I agree. Even from an admin perspective, I do actually think that my team are actually more productive when they're not tied down to being, here all day, because, or before in the office, because it means that they can actually pop over to a retailer, go and see, our collection in store, and then, work from a cafe, and actually you're not constantly losing time with them coming back and from the office. Exactly. And I think these days, if you have a good enough team that you trust, I think flexible working is a far better way.
Oh. And how have like early days of motherhood changed to like now? What's your like, so I guess you're in that initial, for me anyway, at least 3 months, like mad bubble where you're just surviving.
Just surviving.
Do you feel a little bit more like now you kind of hit the ground running and you know where you're at and she knows you? And you know?
One of the things about being a working mother and having to work that's been a real benefit is actually the fact that you just have to chill out. And it's really forced me to really go with the flow, be really happy putting her in the car, driving everywhere with her. She comes everywhere with me. And as a result, on the whole, she's a very easy baby.
But it sounds like you're a chill mum as well.
Well, this is it. I think for the first few months I had, breastfeeding was hard and you have all these issues and, she got sick and I got sick and, things happen. And I think I was quite uptight at the beginning. And then I think I realised really early on that your baby really picks up on that through you. And when I really had days where I was just super chilled, went with the flow, whatever, not super, regimented about the day or super worried about things, she was happier. So now I'm a really chilled mum. I do find it a bit odd when I sometimes meet up with mums and we talked for 2 hours about how many cubes their children are eating. And I'm just a bit like, look, she eats what she eats, she's fine. I'll never put her in danger and I'll always have her, welfare at the forefront. I think, when you're a little bit more chilled out about it, they are too.
Yeah, absolutely. And the thing is, at this stage, we're just sort of keeping them alive. So as long as you love them and they're well, everything else is slightly by the by. They're not going to remember, like we say, something in the email. She might have 1 cube, she might have 2. And you've travelled quite a lot with her, haven't you?
We have, yes. So we our first family holiday was to Dubai, which was great. We absolutely loved it. It was, it was a perfect place to go for just good weather. It was in February.
Nice.
It was a perfect location. It had a beach and a great service. So for a family holiday, it was kind of perfect.
And how do you find travelling with a baby? And what are your tips for? Do you have any tips for travelling with?
Well, I think you have to be really prepared, and I think, even though I'm chilled out, I am always very prepared. Always have enough toys. Always have the anti-back wipes for the plane. Everything. I'm a bit, funny about that. So I think just be super prepared. Always, well, for Sienna anyway, always have a bottle of milk, handy, ready.
Yeah.
Especially on the plane. Always have toys and things to keep them occupied. And also from a practical perspective, just find out the weather. I think that's really important, about knowing what hats and sun creams. And
was she good in the sun, or has she been good in the sun?
Brilliant. So I wanted her to get a little bit of colour on her. I think it's good. She needs some vitamin D.
It's just important, I know.
I think, it's good for the...
To be safe, but...
Yeah, so she's good. She loves being in the sun, obviously not for too long. She wears a hat and she's very well looked after. My husband's Australian, so they've got the... they call it the slip, slut, slop thing. Okay. So it's like slip on a hat, slop on your sun cream and sip on some water or something like that. I love that. Okay. Very sun smart. So having an Aussie as a husband is pretty good.
Do you feel like your style has changed now that you're a mum?
100%.
Really?
My style has completely changed.
So what was your your pregnancy style? That's, I guess, a bit more dependent on your body.
Style, I think I found pregnancy dressing really difficult, and I didn't think I would. I thought that I would find it quite, not easy, but I thought I knew what would work.
Yeah.
But actually, I think in reality, when you're just so uncomfortable, and I was huge. I had massive water retention. I had SBD. My hips were horrendous. Come sit down. So I think for me, I did find it a lot more difficult than I assumed I would. And being in the summer, I think I actually had it a little bit easier in the sense that I just had floaty summer dresses and wrap dresses that covered the bump really nicely. So I think that was a blessing in disguise. But even then, I think I found it difficult to find nice pieces, nice pieces to wear. And, you know, I didn't want to be spending £300-400 on day dresses when actually I'm going to be wearing them, you know, for a matter of months. And then, you know, some of the really high streety dresses, just the quality just isn't there. So I did actually find it a lot more difficult than I thought I would. Okay. And definitely the last month, I mean, it all just went out the window.
God, at that point you're like...
At that point, I was in leggings, you know, I swore I would never wear maternity leggings. I swore I'd never wear, you know, I basically wore everything that I swore I would never wear.
Has your design hat changed at all? So now just back to the business, do you feel like that's changed since being a mum?
Absolutely. I think, you know, the more that we look at our customer profile at Pamplone, it is a lot of yummy mummies, young mums. I don't know whether that's people growing with the business as I'm growing, or that's just essentially who our market is. And I've definitely found that our design, like my design has changed, and my thought process, because actually the feedback from the customers that we have is that people want to wear, you know, want to buy things that are appropriate for when they're pregnant, but also for when they're...
That kind of follow through.
That follow through, that they can wear, you know, when they're breastfeeding, but at the same time aren't a maternity, you know, isn't a specific maternity collection, and they can still wear afterwards. I think, you know, Pamplone is you know, they are an investment piece for a lot of people, and people want to be able to use them, you know, for when they're pregnant,
exactly,
when they have the baby, and then afterwards as well.
Yeah. As a working mum, you should be able to have your kids in hand, or obviously you own the business, so it's a little bit different. But were you at all conscious of having her at meetings that are maybe external, so not with your girls 100%. That you know?
Even now, it's definitely at the forefront of my mind, and I completely agree with you. It's even when I question it myself on the way to meetings, I'm almost annoyed at myself that I'm having to question it. But I do think 100% I've had to really question myself as to what's appropriate and where are appropriate situations to bring her. Okay. You know, like I said, luckily, you know, in this industry, a lot of the marketing meetings with bloggers and press, you know, are with a lot of people that I know, that I've got existing relationships with. So I will kind of mention that I'm bringing...
I was going to say, do you mention? Yeah.
Sometimes I do, but it's the more kind of corporate meetings and the more official meetings, or with people that you're meeting for the first time, that I do question a lot more, because I think you always have in the front of your mind, you know, is someone going to really be judging me for this? Is this particularly professional? I remember when Sienna was really young, I had a meeting. I've got an amazing one of the girls that works with me called Katie, who's is incredible, and she can kind of sense when Sienna's getting a bit antsy, so she'll very kindly, you know, they've got such a lovely relationship. She can give her a cuddle and walk around outside with her. But yeah, I did have a situation where, you know, she was sleeping, and, you know, as we all know, when they're sleeping, sometimes they're kind of like wind. And we had this meeting where she was, you know, an absolute angel asleep in the corner, and she just completely her digestive system must have just completely
gone into action
halfway through a meeting. And then you almost feel one of those, it's so awkward, because then you think, do I address this? So I ended up doing it, but they quite clearly didn't have children and didn't find it very amusing at all. So that was quite awkward. But I do tend to bring her to meetings with people that I know where it's, you know, quite acceptable.
I just think the more women that bring their children to work, the more it will be accepted.
I completely agree.
Rolling in, and not to work, but into a meeting, or do you have any like mum hack tips now that you've become a mum?
Mum hack
like
tips.
your number one, like, oh, this is like a little...
So I think I've got one thing that someone told me that actually has really worked for us is when she was a little baby, whenever she was sleeping, we'd pay her the same nursery rhyme. So So it almost became a connotation with sleep.
Yeah, clever.
So we always used to sing Twinkle Twinkle Little Star. So every time she sleeps, well, not every time, but if she's ever kind of struggling to sleep or a little bit uncomfortable, all I need to do is start singing Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, and she automatically starts calming down. People think it's some kind of sorcery, but it's not. It's just a song, and I think someone taught me that exactly, and I think that was absolutely genius.
Let's wrap up because she has been an absolute star.
Got a nice, really good-looking spoon in your mouth. You're gonna make. Mummy puts the effort to make you in a nice outfit, and you've got like the cheapest, yuckiest spoon in your mouth.
Thank you so much, Holly.
Thank you so. I hope that was okay. I'm so sorry.
She's been an angel.